I was about to move to auto crafters and compactors, and then I remembered that this thing exists. For those of you who don't immediately realize what this is, it's simply a Shulker box filter. You input full Shulker boxes into this item extractor. They travel over these two dropper pipes, and when they come across the right one, they get sorted out. So let's see how that works. So these are full boxes of redstone dust. As you can see, this is perfectly timed, so it has the same feature as precision loaders, where the box gets broken at the same time the hopper here is unlocked. As you can see, both things happen in the same tick, so the item had no time to move away. The reason why this is done is so the item gets put back into the box. I have shown you previously box sorters that don't do this, where the boxes just get put into the storage and the items go either back into some further filters or just get stuck in some double chests, which you can then sometimes clear out. This is, however, a really nice concept, and especially due to the copper bulbs, this became a lot more feasible to make in a small space. So I think the most interesting part about this is how this thing here works. You notice these repeaters are turned the opposite way, which makes not much sense. Why even are they here, since every time an item gets put into one of these droppers, the comparator propels the box forward. Well, this is something to do with a feature of the game called tile tick priority. It's almost certainly broken, and Mojang failed miserably when they were implementing this. Basically what happens is, normally if you would just do this, the comparator wouldn't have time to detect the item. It would just not send any signal. And we use this feature because when we put the repeater in front, suddenly the game decides, I guess I now have time to detect the item. Funny enough, if you put a block between the comparator and the repeater, it won't work. So it has to be in this particular organization. The reason why the repeaters aren't turned like this, for example, is because this way they would also trigger. This way they only lock. If you would turn them this way, they won't do anything. So yeah, I just put them backwards, but it doesn't matter. You can put them the normal direction. And obviously, since here we have a comparator that doesn't have a repeater or another comparator in front of it, it requires the item to stand in this hopper, or in this case a box, for longer. And that's the whole trick. Basically, if the item here gets sucked in, this comparator doesn't trigger, thereby the item gets slowed down, and this one has time to trigger, unlock the hopper, So the box moves in, fire piston to break the existing box, and of course trigger the dispenser to place another one and unlock the hopper at the same time. So you can see, this was nicely moved all the boxes here. Why this sort of layout? Like you could use normal filters for the items. However, this allows us to first only have one item here, which is really convenient, and it makes these things rather easy to auto start up. Like if I would now take out all of this, it resets itself back into the running state automatically, even when it's empty, which is really nice. And you can also set these up. It comes with the obvious downside that the one box is stuck here, but that's generally not a problem when you have so many items that you actually fill boxes of them. You probably don't care if you have one of them stuck in your storage. Most of this is just using the copper bulbs here, so we can both lock these two hoppers at the same time, which are very close to each other. It normally would be really annoying to do. So this is only this hopper here unlocked. It even has the feature that when this item gets sucked in and we would continue this pipe, what would happen is these ones will not get triggered, which is really nice. That means you save on average half of the dropper activations on the line with the full boxes. Obviously this is just designed to trigger only once. And there isn't too much else to talk about. Maybe the fact that this has a box deployed here, which is also really different from a lot of other designs, because many designs I have seen that have this empty, which could work, but it will be a little bit more complicated to set up. And also a lot of other designs have used something like this, which is super annoying. So you have basically 4 hoppers if you could only use 3. Even when that one is locked, it still causes lag. So yeah, this is minimum amount of hoppers. It is pretty much as short as it gets, which is generally the limiting factor. It's only 7 blocks tall. Usually I've seen like 8 or 9. I don't think I found a single one that was only 7. Or at least without using an obscene amount of hoppers. These light sources here are just to prevent the light updates. You can also do something like this, so the light doesn't go outside. And just have one light source if these are too expensive for you. Let's go over this thing, the item extractor from the box. People also call it item wanker, item keygen, and things like that. I like the term extractor. It makes it pretty obvious what's actually happening. I'll slowly go over it. So when you put an item into this hopper, you can put directly items, which are the full boxes, from these Shulker box loaders I have shown in my previous video. So if you are wondering how to set up a storage, you basically feed this pipe here into this thing and have a long line of these things. And when you put then, double chests here or whatever, you can already have a storage that basically filters the items, puts them into boxes, and stores the full boxes in slices. Then you can access. You can even put two of these on top of each other because they are short enough and still have access to them. Like this thing here is 10 blocks tall and you can access both of them, both ends of it. So if you have 2, 7, or let's say 8 blocks tall machines, you can still access both of those. If it would be 9, it would be pretty sketchy, and 10 of course wouldn't work. So when the item gets put in through the hopper, it immediately goes into this dispenser, which then activates this clock or enables it to run, however you want to call it. This offset here is necessary because if you don't put it here, if you just move this comparator here and put a solid block here, you will get a case where the last box doesn't get filtered because there will be like 2 signals going too fast after each other. This is a 16 game tick clock. The reason why it's 16, yes, you could make this theoretically 8 game ticks. However, you would make it more laggy. At least I haven't found a design that wouldn't use the minimum amount of hoppers. And in general, it's unnecessary. Because if you think about it, every 8 game takes a Shulker box that's 15 million items per hour. So even half of that is 7.5 million items per hour. That's way faster than any of amount of these could possibly give you. You would have, I don't know, hundreds of these to fill boxes fast enough. Actually, you would need to have like 1,700 of these, or maybe even more, to fill enough boxes for an 8 game tick one and running all at full speed, which isn't going to happen. That's way too much. And in thinking about a farm that would produce 15 million, more than 7.5 million items per hour, that's really hard to do within the constraints of Minecraft. Not to mention absolutely unnecessary. You will never use up that many items. So this is basically a trade-off that way, for this being slightly slower but less laggy than other designs. And it also has a few features I'll talk at the end. When this clock here starts rolling and sending the signals, we basically get the items here and the boxes here. This gets triggered first, so the box, due to this node block updating, gets put way over here. And then all we need to do is trigger this one and this one at the same time. Actually, in this case, here are 2 of them. So basically, this observer that's pointing upwards has to get activated at the same time as this one. Yeah. And that's all you really need to do. You basically get the item into the first of the set of filters at the same moment as you get the box. It's that simple, which makes it really convenient to work with. Because it's always easier to just think about these pipes when you have the items synchronously. This is also done in this layout, which looks slightly less efficient, because I can't just put the observer like this because it would trigger these rails. You could technically increase the delay here. You could add an observer like here and then have another one here. Thereby you would increase the delay for the processing. And of course, then this would not bother you as much, but I think this is a lot nicer. And it might also cause issues if you do that, I'm not 100% sure. I tried to optimize this. I'm not 100% sure if this is the perfect layout, unlike with this thing where I'm sure that you can't have less hoppers or less droppers or less anything. But here, some people who are better with the subtick timings might be able to figure out ways how to have like one or two fewer observers, maybe. But it isn't going to change much, like observers don't really cause much lag. So yeah. I hope this is not the last video about copper bulbs, because I'm getting tired of them, and you guys probably too. But I also really wanted to make this thing because I have seen so many really bad designs for this stuff. Like, especially the kind where they have another of these observer lines going like this to trigger these dispensers. So they are basically triggering way too many dispensers. And or they have another line that goes at the bottom and is either locking or unlocking these hoppers at the right time. Which is just horrendous, because then you have a bunch more hoppers being unlocked that are not necessary. This literally does the minimum amount of actions that are necessary. So it doesn't lag the living shit out of your server, while being also really simple to understand. Like, this doesn't have... I have seen a few on like the Storage Tech archive which are like twice the size. They have a huge load of these parallel wires going through them and all that to get slightly faster speeds for a machine that's already way too fast. I don't think that's worth it personally, and also I don't think anyone has built one of these. I think I can sort of claim that this is actually my invention, this sort of design, because I don't think I have seen a 16 game tick one that would be focused on like optimization and use this tile tick priority. So yeah, I hope it helps you. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it, and have a nice day.